Is Canada really falling apart faster than anyone could have imagined? It may sound dramatic, but when you dive into the housing crisis, inflation, and job insecurity plaguing millions, the picture becomes crystal clear. And it doesn't stop there. Rising costs, crumbling healthcare access, and failing public transit systems are pushing families to the brink. But what if these aren't just isolated issues? What if they're all interconnected, part of a larger problem that's been brewing beneath the surface for years? Stick around, because what you're about to uncover will change how you see the true state of the country. Ever feel like buying a home is becoming a far-fetched dream? You're not alone. With the average house price in Canada skyrocketing past $700,000, many are left wondering how they'll ever afford a place to call their own. It's not just about buying, though. Rent prices have soared too. Imagine shelling out $2,600 a month just for a modest one-bedroom in Toronto. Inflation creeping at a steady 5% only fuels this growing crisis, making it tougher for families to make ends meet. Now picture this. While home prices hit the roof, wage growth stubbornly drags behind at around 2%. That's right. People's income isn't keeping pace with rising costs, leaving many stuck in a cycle of financial strain. As inflation pushes essentials higher, it's not just housing affordability that's at stake. Groceries, fuel, even a simple coffee shop visit now come with a steeper price tag. The gap keeps widening and frustration grows. What's worse, this isn't a short-term hiccup. It's become a persistent struggle, especially for young Canadians. Those trying to move out or start fresh in big cities are feeling the pinch harder than ever. While governments scramble for solutions, many argue that they're focusing on symptoms rather than root causes. With rising student debt and healthcare access issues adding pressure, people are left wondering, when will relief come? But hang on, it doesn't end there. The housing market isn't just affected by local dynamics. There's a deeper layer: foreign investment. You'll often hear debates about how wealthy buyers from abroad are inflating property values, making the crisis worse. Curious how that plays into this whole picture? That's exactly what we'll dive into next. But let's not stop at housing, because if you think home prices are steep, wait until you hear about the rising cost of living. Essentials like groceries have jumped by a staggering 23%. Think about that for a second. Every trip to the supermarket feels like a dent in your wallet. Inflation's ripple effect hits everywhere, from your morning bread to your evening meal, making everyday survival more expensive than ever. And as if that wasn't enough, there's the looming tax burden that Canadians are grappling with. Federal and provincial taxes keep climbing, eating into already tight budgets. It's no surprise that about 38% of people now voice serious concerns about whether they'll be able to keep a roof over their heads. Rising costs aren't just numbers on a chart. They're felt at every dinner table, and they're leaving millions to wonder, how long can they hold on? Still, while some struggle just to stay afloat, others argue that government policies aren't easing the pressure. Instead, regulatory hurdles and heavy taxation are being blamed for choking any hope of financial relief. Entrepreneurs trying to grow businesses and workers aiming to stretch their paychecks are finding themselves stuck between high living costs and relentless taxes. But if you don't want to be caught by surprise like this, stay ahead and make sense of what's really happening. Subscribe now and keep watching. Be part of the people that are aware of their surroundings and don't miss out. Your next big discovery could be in the very next video. Now, let's dig into something that adds even more fuel to the housing crisis: foreign investment. Wealthy buyers from abroad have been pouring money into Canadian real estate, driving property prices through the roof. The idea of foreign ownership isn't just a financial issue, it's emotional too. For many, it feels like homes are slipping out of reach, becoming investment assets rather than places to live. You see, while regulatory measures have been introduced to curb this trend, their success has been mixed at best. Some provinces, like British Columbia, impose taxes on foreign buyers, hoping to cool down the market. Yet, property values in key cities like Vancouver and Toronto keep climbing, showing that these policies barely scratch the surface. It's a vicious cycle that leaves everyday Canadians struggling while investors benefit. And it's not just foreign buyers directly purchasing homes. Foreign investment flows into real estate through corporations and development projects too. High-rise condos pop up like mushrooms, but affordability rarely improves. Sure, these developments look good on the skyline, but for locals, they often mean more financial strain rather than relief. The frustration only grows when people see luxury homes sitting empty while housing demand surges. It's a bitter pill to swallow, especially for young families and first-time buyers. But housing is only one piece of a larger puzzle. Next, we'll explore another critical factor that impacts daily life: healthcare access. Let's shift gears to something equally pressing: healthcare access. Did you know that about 17% of Canadians don't have a regular healthcare provider? That's nearly 1 in 5 people left without consistent medical attention. And for those who do, long wait times have become the norm. It's frustrating, isn't it? Needing care, but having to wait weeks, sometimes months, for a simple consultation. But it doesn't stop there. A major part of this crisis comes down to a shortage of healthcare professionals. With burnout rates climbing and many leaving the field altogether, the system is feeling the strain more than ever. Those who remain are stretched thin, and as you might expect, patient satisfaction suffers. This creates a loop: dissatisfied workers leave, and the care gaps widen, leaving millions vulnerable. Now, here's the kicker. While Canadians pride themselves on having universal health care, accessibility remains a thorny issue. People in rural areas often have it worse, with fewer providers and longer travel distances to reach a clinic or hospital. Add inflation into the mix, and even affording over-the-counter medication becomes a challenge for some households. But here's the thing: healthcare challenges don't exist in isolation. They're closely tied to other factors, like job insecurity and financial strain. If you're finding this fascinating and want more insight into how these issues connect, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about something that's hitting almost everyone: job insecurity. Imagine working in a system where 30% of jobs are non-standard, meaning temporary contracts, part-time gigs, or freelance work with no long-term guarantees. For many, this means living with constant uncertainty about whether they'll have a paycheck next month. It's stressful, right? And it doesn't help when wages are stagnant while living costs keep rising. Young Canadians, in particular, are feeling trapped in this cycle. With rising student debt and high housing costs, they're struggling to save, invest, or even plan for the future. Many are overqualified for the jobs they end up taking, a trend that's only worsening with increased competition in the job market. Meanwhile, immigrants face underemployment, often unable to find jobs matching their skills despite being highly educated. On top of that, inflation creeps into the equation, making every paycheck feel smaller. Even those fortunate enough to have stable employment find themselves juggling between covering essentials and saving for emergencies. And let's not forget the rising healthcare costs that add even more pressure, making job stability more crucial than ever for financial well-being. But job security isn't the only factor affecting everyday life. Another major challenge Canadians face is getting around efficiently. Stick around as we explore the world of public transit and commuting struggles next. It's more than just bad traffic. And speaking of daily struggles, let's dive into the chaos of public transit. For many Canadians, getting from point A to point B isn't as simple as it should be. Inefficient transit systems, aging infrastructure, and high commuting costs have turned what should be routine travel into a daily frustration. Nearly 60% of commuters report dissatisfaction with local transit, whether it's due to unreliable schedules or overcrowded buses and trains. Now, here's the kicker: owning a vehicle isn't much better. With rising fuel prices and expensive maintenance, driving is becoming a financial burden too. And for those living in sprawling suburbs where public transit isn't a viable option, the cost of vehicle ownership is unavoidable. Inflation only makes it worse, increasing expenses for everything from fuel to insurance, while wages remain stagnant. But it's not just about costs, it's about time too. Longer commute times mean less time for family, rest, and personal development. It's exhausting, isn't it? Spending hours stuck in traffic or waiting for a delayed bus drains energy and reduces productivity. It's a cycle that leaves people feeling stuck, both literally and figuratively. Now, if transit struggles weren't enough, there's also growing frustration with how the government is handling these interconnected crises. Curious to know more about what people are saying? That's exactly where we're heading next, so stick around. And here's where things heat up: government criticism. Across Canada, frustration is brewing as citizens express dissatisfaction with how the government is handling key issues. Whether it's the housing crisis, rising inflation, or the mounting tax burden, many feel that current policies are falling short. People are asking tough questions. Are these policies truly helping, or are they just making life harder? High taxes, in particular, have become a major sticking point. From entrepreneurs trying to grow businesses to individuals trying to stretch their income, the consensus is clear: taxes are squeezing budgets dry. But taxes alone aren't the problem. Regulatory hurdles are also seen as a bottleneck for growth, leaving many feeling like they're trapped in a system that offers little room for financial improvement. Meanwhile, promises of relief often seem like empty words. Citizens see rising costs and stagnant wages while government actions appear slow and ineffective. Public trust erodes further when people face issues like poor healthcare access, job insecurity, and broken public transit systems. These daily struggles create a sense of disillusionment, leading more people to question leadership decisions. Yet amidst all the criticism, there's still hope for change. And that's exactly why discussions like these are important. Because understanding the problem is the first step toward finding real solutions. If you're ready to uncover even more hidden truths, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more deep dives like this. So, what do you think? After uncovering the shocking realities behind Canada's housing crisis, rising inflation, job insecurity, and even climate change, you've just scratched the surface of a much bigger story. But here's the thing. Most people never get to hear these truths. That's what makes you different. By diving into topics like these, you're joining a select group of people who crave deeper knowledge and want to stay ahead of the game. But this is just the beginning. There are countless more hidden stories out there. Stories that could reshape how you view the world and help you make smarter decisions. Want to keep exploring? Then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every video we drop could be your next big discovery. Stick around, stay curious, and keep unlocking the knowledge that most people miss.